Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Fear It Goes. Oh my God, isn't this exciting? We are now a face, and you guys are getting me clean face today. There's no makeup on at all. It's that kind of Sunday, man. Some days you just got to come at it all natural and know that it's okay to just be you, and you don't have to put on that face, that mask, that whatever veneer you believe that you need to carry when you're out in the world. People will love you. People will love you for you because you are what makes this world so great. So welcome to Fear It Goes, both sides.
Welcome to Fear It Goes, the podcast all about taking your fears with you and doing it anyway. I'm your host, Brandy Taylor.
Today's guest is James Steinhubl, and I'm telling you, you are in for a very interesting ride in today's episode. This is the journey of multimillionaire, getting to multimillionaire, losing it all, having the craziest things happen, and then picking yourself up and starting over. It is one of the most fascinating stories I think I've listened to in quite some time, and I'm so happy to bring this to you because there's incredible lessons to be learned about tenacity, perseverance, and that undeniable faith that if I just get up and do it again, I can totally do this. That undeniable faith in self. So excited to bring this to you. Without further ado, welcome, James.
Now, so that's if I'm hesitating, it's because you don't know everything. Right? So.
Oh, see? Again, this rolls back to this whole no makeup, no mask.
I won't, but you could get Citizen James and Alberta Workers First, right? I might have to go a long way, right? So.
Yeah, but what does that mean? Okay, we're already jumping into the podcast before we even started. So I'm going to introduce you and say, hi, James.
I just like ruffling you. Don't you know that before we start? No. And usually we go in, you're just laughing your head off because I've
this is great. I love that we started in a conversation and people are going to be like, what? And then it's just going to move into. Yeah. So I introduced this podcast with the no mask, no makeup, no, like just coming at you with truth of who you are, and acknowledging that people are going to love you or not. That doesn't matter. Really what matters is that you love you and you accept you for who you are, and it doesn't matter what this looks like, right? So
thank you.
So when you talk about putting on your mask about the Citizen James and all this, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't fly here.
My sword and my spear.
Come at the world as who you are. And that's all you can do. Come at the world as who you are and just be a better person every day.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
So today we have James with us, and I want to welcome you and thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're very welcome. It's a delight.
We are in the midst of the business series, and in this episode, I really wanted to kind of flush out some ideas that a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people in business kind of get hung up on. So one of those is around the concept of failure, putting yourself out there, failing, and then how you pick yourself up again, because failures can feel monumental. They can feel like these mountains that we have crashed down. And I don't know how I'm going to take my broken body and get back up and do it again, or do it in a different way. And you have been such an incredible resource in this way. I love what you have done and how you have found ways to just recreate yourself. And it's so important for us to recognize that there's not just one story within us. It's not just one chapter. We have so many opportunities and so many options. So let's start.
Sure. So you want me to explain all that from my subjective context?
Well, let's start with the big success you had that brought you into multi-millionaire, and you did it when you were young.
Yes. At the apex of it, it was a land holding company,
Mm-hmm.
a mortgage company, a development company, and a new home building company, and a property owning company, and a modular home factory company. So we, at our peak, had an inventory of about 1,500 lots.
Wow.
And yeah, we had sales centers in, I think, about 7 or 8 communities around Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a going concern. Yeah, it was very interesting.
And how old were you when you started that business?
Been in 1998, and I was born in 63. So whatever that, 35.
35. So
35.
the very ripe age of 35. You
I was
started.
already an experienced millionaire before then.
Okay, so when did you make your first million?
When did I make my first million? Would have been in the food. We had a teen concept where we had a restaurant, non-alcoholic teen bar with a clothing store, hairdressing shop, and jewelry store put together, and it was called Club Trend.
I seem to remember that name.
You were in Calgary. No, you weren't. So that was the first one, and then but up to that, the reason I hesitated is because up to that I had a tutoring agency, and I grew that when I was in high school. And
okay, so you've always dabbled as an entrepreneur. You've always had that spirit within you to just go out and try something.
That's correct. Yes, and always on a real free flowing, a strategy and tactics, but with a real good intent. But because the ideas were just based on my perception of rights and freedoms without really understanding, when I opened the tutoring agency, I didn't realize at that point it was common law in Alberta that you had to have a Bachelor of Education's degree to teach. And I already had 15 of my own students and like 3 or 4 teachers working for me, right? But at the same time, the Chartered Rights and Freedoms came in, and I just sent back this letter. Well, the charter says we have freedom of stuff, and they never got back to me. They went back and forth, and that was Nancy Batowski at the time. I went back and forth, and I was just a kid. And then that's when I got into. I was educated, I got some university background, some college background, sciences, engineering, business. And then, just this complicated things happen to you as a young man. Being who I am, I have a mystical and metaphysical journey that I'm on, and that led me in directions that end up, just breaking in the face of people that don't understand your freedom, right? So I was married, kids, that's coming apart. My teenage nightclub empire is coming apart.
Because things are shifting.
Yeah, right. So
and alignment sometimes means that these things in life are going to disrupt the things in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But just until recently, I realized that at the time, when I look back, a lot of fear, a lot of guilt, shame. But I just used courage and enthusiasm. I found that if I was just courageous, without reason, and enthusiastic without reason, those two combinations silenced the past failures. And then from there,
because they up-level you. Courage is a major motivator.
And then so then I can't, basically I got it, and then the new media showed up. I got into politics, right? I ran for mayor in Edmonton. I ran against Jan Reimer and Bill Smith, the first time Bill Smith ran. And I sat in the middle between Jan and Bill. And it was just an awesome time. I put all my effort into the forums, and I just thundered there, right? Vision, knowledge, courage, and action. I made great friends with Bill. And, in a negative way, great friends with Jan Reimer. I apologized later. I ran into her on the street, and I apologized to her because while I was campaigning, I'd come out strong. It was the beginning of cell phones, and I knew what I was doing. I was a sales manager of a radio station at that time. So I was leveraging, media and stuff. And I apologized to her. That's the time I realized that my opinions of a person were completely affected by media, right? And so I was shocked. After I met her, I found her to be gracious and pragmatic and sharp and smart and, and an impressive leader. But I was up there, but I was pitching mud at both of them. To be fair, I was letting Jan have it and I was letting Bill have it. And I was trying to come up the middle, right? And they just would not mention me, They, as soon as the media shut off, then they'd start talking about me, right? But they wouldn't. And then I went and I did a bunch of media consulting as a consultant, and I ran for the National Party, for Mel Hertig's party, and I was the right wing in a left wing movement at that time, and but I got great respect for Mel, and I came in a number 2 nationwide for National Party candidates. So there's a green guy from Vancouver, then me, and then Mel. And then for the official record, the number was lowered for me and Mel came in second. And the only reason I bring that up because the rest is so Mel's past. I would never bring that up because I had such great respect for him. I didn't mind him being number 2. And then I got into the internet. Bill Smith started Alberta Supernet, and he didn't even know. He just invited all us young entrepreneurs in, and I started opening things, Webcache, Bargain Hunter, got involved with Global Directory, and we're just kicking it up. And we were selling these things off, for 50 grand, 70 grand, 80 grand, 300 grand, like
thinking 2001.
And just before that was say 97. And then people started signing competition agreements with me, right? That I could not predict. So then I went into ministry. I was ministering for a bit, and then I went into real estate, and I started to develop real estate, and we got into second mortgages. There was arbitrage at the time between value, mortgage, and so we were writing second mortgages, and then selling them on a discount is what we were doing. And then we stumbled into land that was really, really cheap. And then we stumbled into the fact that there was land everywhere in Alberta. In the 80s, people built whole subdivisions, poured their lives into them, right? And they were for sale for $1, $10, $100. And we went around, we bought 100 of them. Well, not 100, we bought 1,000 of these lots. And this is the mistake that I made, though. And the same, just my freedom, that, living at the full expression of law and freedom. I buy everything in a market and then raise the prices up to what I thought was fair, right? And one community after another, people went wild, man. Wild. People had lost their whole lives. They lost their farms building these subdivisions. And I didn't really think of that before I went in, right? So there was a great animosity for me to do development. And then we started to do, before the banks, copied us, right? We started to do zero down mortgages, and 8 years later, they came back on 30 of them and laid 60 charges. I defended myself. I was convicted of 15 of them, given 3 years. They appealed, and I was reconvicted of another 15. All the time I defended myself, and I went and I served a sentence of 6 years.
That's tough.
And when I emerged, I believe it or not, I went into.
Okay, hang on. Before you say that, no, I'm just thinking, okay, talk about the pinnacle of high, right? I'm a multimillionaire at the top of my game, and then the world comes crashing down, severe. Most people would just be like, oh my God, I'm so broken. I'm so I've fallen off this mountain and I am broken and I am never getting back up. So now, do tell how you picked yourself back up, because that's such a big drop from what we get often caught up in within our own selves, right? And as entrepreneurs, you get these crazy wins sometimes and these crazy losses. And it's really important to be able to kind of find that middle ground so that you can stay more rational in moments.
Well, I went into the final day. I'm telling you that this, I could, how it went down and what they did and every lever they pulled to convict me was the extreme edges of everything that is reasonable. There's nothing that, they could say. So as far as I knew, right? So going in, I thought I won, right? So I went in and bang that day, and I was into the basement of into the courts. Bang! I'm in the remand, sitting in the room. This is a smelly room, man. I'm in my nice clothes, and I'm going in, and I'm overweight, and I'm high stress. My blood pressure's up. I got diabetes. I don't know this, right? But that night, the medical staff in the remand literally saved my life, because they say, man, I don't even know how you're alive. Really?
Because we get caught up. Yep.
Well, my diabetes, my blood pressure, my cholesterol, my blood pressure, all that, right? So in a way, as I come tumbling out, and my dear wife's a successful, high-powered, she would tell you, right? So she'd come in there, man, and she would tell me, and people would just be like yelling at her and stuff. That's when you came down. But she was very sweet to me too. She never, she knew too, right? That it was in for me. But either way, there I was, and so right away, I realized, even in the absolute destitution and failure of my life,
yep,
the men that were in there, all of them, men and women that were in there, all of them could use some help. You know what I mean? So that's how I sustained myself through that, is helping people. And I joined a Bible study, which was called Scripture Meeting. We began to let all Scripture faiths in. It grew into this large thing in the remand. I was transferred back and forth, and I discovered these things. And, and all in this time while I'm in there, I'm waiting for sentencing. I sat in there for, I think, almost 6 months.
Before you got sentenced?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I was using it's called an appeal within trial. So I was putting the Honorable Justice on the spot, right, of what was allowed through, and
right.
It didn't make it any easier on me on the way out. Not that bad though. Like I took a little extra, right? But then on the appeal, and just even the elements of the appeal, I'm just saying, either way. But so she do, whatever. So there I am, and then I'm out. I'm on parole. I go through the whole system, and everywhere I went, there's men and women, mostly men, that needed help. And like I said, even in the worst of where I had been, I was just a beacon of radiant hope. Even if I was moping and crying. And I'd go walking around. Yeah. People would just walk up to me and spend time with me. I ended up.
When you say men that needed help, well, mostly men that needed help, and women too, but you're referring to like that loss of hope, or that feeling of being lost, or what are you exactly referring to when you say there was this need that you were actually filling? And how interesting is that sometimes, again, life takes you down a different path to get you to where you're going to go in the next level, and it may not paint the picture you thought. Like
I hear you. I'll tell you what it is, and that's very profound, and that brought a crystallization of some reality for me. And what these men were missing while I was there, and I'm sure it's there, is non-judgmental, equal leadership. Yeah. I'm not better than you, and I'm not judging you, but I'm the leader. That's how they don't respond to hierarchical leadership. They respond to leadership on the ground.
But honestly,
that's what I provided.
Really does respond well to that I'm better than you. Because great leaders don't ever say, I'm better than you, you should follow me. They are the ones saying, I have been in your shoes, and man, I know what that feels like. I am here to show you how to get out. That's a good leader. They take you through it, but without that sense of, I like to call it ego, because again, you're wearing your coat you're wearing your ego like a very comfortable coat in that respect. where you are distinguishing yourself as something better when you're not. It's an unnecessary judgment. So sorry, went off.
No, go ahead. You know, and then so now, you know, when I emerge, I'm emerging. I'm coming off this situation, you know, and this 6-year sentence, and you know, now in a world of Google background, right? I'm just in an onslaught, man. I mean, it's better, you know, in the last, I would say 6 months, but every day, you know, being reminded of it, being called the most heinous things. How did you
pick yourself up?
How did I never fell down. Even when I thought I fell down, and I woke up that first morning in the remand with my big fat gut, and this guy slamming me with a pillow, and I went up and I got up and I'm sitting in there in their blue suit, that's barely washed, that stinks, right? Going to eat their turnip breakfast, right? And I looked around at men in there. I know who I am, right? So I was good, man. I was fine in there. I had to. There's lots of fun stuff. There's lots of great people, you know, and the culture in there, and the guards, you know, they take a lot of flack for some of the discipline things that they have to do, but you know, the prisoners take a lot of flack for some of the discipline things they do back, right? So, right. So, but you know, there's interesting, there's respect in there, you know, there's development in there, there's spiritual ministries in there. They give you the exact right amount of calories that you need, so you just start, you know, getting healthy, right? You know, they know what you need for medical care. They take care of you in there, you know, and that part of it, you know, I'm grateful for, right? But I didn't have anything negative, you know, happen to me in my time in the penitentiary. And I went twice. The second time I went back, the first time I came out of the remand, I went into Grand Cache. And you go into what's called a fish tank, right? So they figure you out there. And then from there, I went right into minimum in Edmonton and Grierson. Then when they got more sentence on my appeal, I went to Drumheller. Drumheller is a whole different kind of story. That's a serious penitentiary. Some serious dudes in there, man. But I don't know what happened to me, but while I was in there, I'm pretty strong, and I was always an athlete, but I'm telling you, the strength that came over me and my ability to lift weights and like serious amount of weights, I was blessed there, and I was given a role in the school that allowed me to really encourage people and, you know, and lead them. And so I was able to develop a network that,
and a better relationship with the general populace.
Yeah. And then I'm out, right? So now, even to this day, I constantly deal with these Google search. And I went back into ministry, but it was tough for me. And then I stepped back. I was doing church plants, and we were successful at it, but it was still difficult. I went into consulting.
Yeah.
A lot of guys felt that, you know, once it was more than 10 or 15 grand that they owed me because of what happened 20 years ago on my Google search, they didn't want to pay me. So I went into media. You know, it's like, well, media is killing me, right? So I need to fight back, right? So not fight back, but I need to take my stand, right?
Or find another way through it.
You know, so and I know in my core, you know, I don't have any vengeance or anger, or I'm not get anybody back, but you know, it's the building, it's the forming of culture, you know, and that, you know, it's leadership, but non-judgmental, equal leadership. If people don't want to or don't know how to make their communities better with multimedia, with streaming video, and with audio, these are rich, vibrant, absorbent texture carrying communication vehicles that can transform people's lives. And
I totally agree. Hence,
you know, so podcast. yeah, exactly. So then, you know, that's what we're doing, you know, with TVU and Radio U. And so
let's talk a little bit about TVU and Radio U and what that is, and because people don't know this yet. So let's introduce it.
It's a media arts community. So what it is it's an opportunity for individuals, groups, whether those are family groups or business groups or groups, to generate media and have another group like us, the media arts community, that distributes it and promotes that distribution. In the end, we're a fancy website, but what we work hard at is attracting attention to that and having good quality content so people come back. And it's built on a scalable model. So a community like Sure Park, where we started, and it has a single screen and then 25 genre channels. So everything from sports, seniors, students, youth, faith, health and wellness. And then, so the idea is to have the community begin to submit their multimedia. They may already be doing it on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, but this is a place where people know they can come and just get local community. And so it's on a
sense of community. Yeah, and things that are going to help them grow.
And the people that want to be community leaders can come and get their content on there. So we're providing that leadership, and we're calling leaders forward. And it's free content. Of course, there's advertising packages if people want a message to be there all the time. But we have 25 free slots per channel on the station. We have 25 channels. So once the 25th free spot on that channel, say sports, is filled, the 26th one knocks the first one off. So some channels content may last for weeks and weeks, and others it might last for hours, right? So
wow.
And that's how it goes. So I'm creating value. I'm breathing media arts into businesses. So now I'm creating employment. You go into a sporting goods store. Now they've got the young people, they're taking time and they're getting paid to do videos of the store and create little shows and send it in. So it's creating a unity and a focus within that store, but it's also allowing them to plug into the greater community. So it's very exciting. And then on the radio side, I started this. I went into a partnership in Sure Park, not partnership, but a co-team kind of a thing with a guy that I've known for a long time, who knew me at the beginning of one of my spiritual and mystical and metaphysical journeys. And we've come in and out of being friends. And after going over his skill set, we thought that I wanted him on the music channel, but he just wasn't ready to be on TV. I don't know why. This guy's he's been a performing artist, so successful. His whole family's just such a rich artistic people. But anyways, we came up with the radio. The audio stream, we branded it as radio. And we slowly have built this sound up to like it's radio, and it's caught on. And this is
Radio U.
Radio U, and so each local area is just those local musicians. So you either live there, or one of your band members is there. And what's neat, we have all 30 communities in Alberta set up. We've turned on 2, and so we've got Sure Park and Edmonton, and the sound is different.
Yeah,
the radio sounds different.
Flavor from different spaces.
Yes. And that's what it was like when I was a kid. I grew up in Sure Park. I used to tell people when we went to Vegreville to play hockey, it was a completely different town.
Yeah.
They had different little lingo, and it was cool. It was rich. Now, man, there's this blend or homogenization of the whole planet. You don't even know. You watch videos, are they in Singapore? Are they in Calgary? You don't even know anymore, right? So.
Oh, but you know what? It's funny because not just talking about sound and flavor, but I mean, traveling, this is what I experienced when I've traveled across Canada. So I've traveled across Canada about 8 times. I've traveled all over the world. And I find that even from province to province in this country, you just get such a different flavor of person and their attitudes and the way they view life. And some are really laid back and some are really uptight. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just, you're more hustle bustle. You view life from a quicker pace. And then there's others that are just like, everything's just easy going. And I'm just summarizing only a few, but every province is different. And it's so cool to experience that. Not just the place, but the feel.
But you're sensitive to it, and you came to. I reached out to you, but you've come to TVU and Radio U because, and you're sensitive to it, right? No, right? So you see it, and we're so excited, and I think that, and then we'll regionalize it off, right? I still think that once all the Alberta stations on, we'll have an Alberta radio and TV, and I think that allows quality content to distill to a level. And we don't we see ourselves as a launching mechanism for people,
like a
right?
platform, yeah.
Yeah, like we know that some of our best products right now and our best shows are going to get scooped up, right? And how but that's what community TV and radio is for. Come back and share your success with us. But who's the next person that's coming off their deck or off their couch or out of their garage that's just, I got to tell people things, right? And that's what we're
I got to share this. I got a gift that must be shared.
That's right.
Recognizing we all have gifts that must be shared and that they're all within us. We have all these great things that we can absolutely contribute to the world with. And often it's funny that you're talking about your friend that's like been holding back with their music. And I think so often about like when we're not really being in our truth, when we're not being that authentic self, all the things that we stop ourselves from being, like that massive success, climbing that mountain, getting out there and being number one on the music charts, winning that Grammy, whatever it is, right? All of that is us either really stepping into whatever that gift is, that truth is, that thing we need to share, that within us, or not. And I find it so awesome that you came from a space of entrepreneurial mindset absolutely all the way through. And entrepreneurs out there, this is a beautiful thing about you and the way that you think. You recognize that you're going to try different things. It's like trying on clothes. Yep, this is kind of the right fit, not quite the right color. You're going to try things on and feel it out. So you may have an interesting sorted past of different careers until you find the true fit and what really lights you up, right? But again, that boils down to the authentic truth within you, that authentic self. And when you really discover that, there is no question where you're meant to be, how you're meant to go serve, and how you're meant to share this gift with the whole wide world. So I love that you're doing this.
And I do have to say that, even because you've been coming on TVU, so we've been having discussions, and even, inadvertently you've been coaching me. Thank you. And you just a couple of your processes, and it's not like I've had this clarity, this pulling this all together has just come recently, even though up to that point I was still very courageous and very enthusiastic. But I feel the going after the fear, that, the consultancy that you have, and is so powerful. Even we didn't have time to talk about even more of the things that not the releasing of it, but the discovery of it. And there's so much there. So I have to say thank you.
Oh, it's so funny. I think to myself, what would happen if you actually went through the actual clarity course?
I'm ready. You know what I mean? So
clarity is so pinnacle to us and success. We like to have that clear vision. It's super important for us to be able to drive forward whatever initiative we want. And you have some initiatives you are driving. Speaking of which, let's talk about those, because you have some really interesting things that you're now bringing to life. And I find they're interesting elements of how to create community and bring community together, but from very different perspectives, each one of them. Like radio and TVU is one way, but the housing one is another. And when I saw that, I went, oh, I love this idea. I love this idea. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about
abundant urban co-living. It's an initiative that now it operates in Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa. And what it is opportunity for people to come together who want to live in a cooperative environment, want to pool resources so that they can have a nice place to live, have a great food security, and also community security. So each group, there's a process that goes with it, and so it's they're micro co-op living with the
little mini communes.
It's in this world of the self-aware. It's I think it's I think the group aware is the next phase.
For sure. It
You know,
moves well beyond you and moves into the we, and then goes beyond that.
and how it fits in and where it'll be and where it's going to end up, long past when I'm gone. I don't know, but I just see, especially now, I see homes as big as hotels.
Yeah.
Empty, right? They've got tennis courts and swimming pools and 6-car garages and 8 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms.
And often a disconnect. Yeah.
And they're just waiting for 8 couples or 8 singles or 8 single families, parent families, but how that comes together and the human dynamic there. The level of transparency and common good. It's a lofty ambition. So anyways, that's that one.
Okay, so I told you about a foundation I want to start. I was going to call it ROW, Roof Overhead, and it was low income housing for families with an educational component, because I want them to never, ever, ever be stuck in a money mindset, but also have all the tools they need to go out and really excel and do something great in the world. Because I think often it's just conditioning, it's programming, it's the way we've been taught, and it's the limiting that's preventing people from being these amazing, exceptional people in the world. And I want to give that to families. So when I saw your initiative, I'm like, oh my God, this is so great, because it totally coincides with part of my vision.
Yeah, I know. It's very congruent and
like-minded people coming together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what that like mind is about is not preset. Right? It's not like, okay, you have to be like-minded like this. No. Here's our framework. Yeah, here's our framework.
You just gotta be willing to open.
And do you like the people that you're looking at going into this environment with? You're talking, these are properties that used to be, right now it's a fantastic time. I don't know how long this window will last, but I saw properties come up that are like $700,000. I was just like, what? These things are like $3.5 million. There's 700,000. For 700,000, you would get, like a, 2,600 square foot with bonus room with a garage and a half. You know what I mean? And now it's just like, so it's a great opportunity. I'm all for it. But I guess that would have been one of my fears, right? Is the not knowing the internal structure. And I think I like what you're saying. That's a great piece. But this people living together all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And then they become it's not like it's not like a bed and breakfast, right?
No,
with a lot of great things that you can eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so what's your long-term, what's our, as we roll out of this life, right? Who's rolling in, what's the legacy, what's the limitations of that cooperative, or what's
really
the
makes
expansion?
Me think community, though, like true old school concept of community was, we were the tribe. It takes a tribe to raise a child. It takes, like, we are all here connected to each other, doing things that are driving us forward in the same way.
Mm-hmm. I would be delighted to set a regular time and come to Calgary and access the group that we have in Calgary and begin to have meetings and move towards acquiring property and setting these up. I've got groups in all these towns. I don't know. Okay, I can get the property, I can have the people. So that's my gift to this process. What do I, oh no, because I'm so pragmatic and expedient and laissez-faire that okay, we all live here, now what? Okay, let's figure it out from there. But I think there needs to be a little more thought and engagement and that.
A little bit of leadership.
The next leader, right? I'm ready to bring it up. I'm ready to bring it here. And okay, here it is.
And 4,700 square feet. You're not drinking damn Kool-Aid.
No. Well, you know what? Unless let's say a group came from a church group and they wanted to use the resources and they wanted to have their faith system in there, or a temple or a mosque or or an org or whatever. We're all for it. It's I'm all for that. I'm not. I think that when we aren't inclusive by including other people's exclusiveness, when we try to become exclusive, or inclusive, we become exclusively inclusive, and it's just so
But
wrong.
that's a
right?
separation, right? When we believe that we are separate from everything else and everybody else, then there is the exclusivity. There is that disconnectedness. And it doesn't see, that's why I will always look at religion from the same space. For me, I'm like, I don't care what God you believe in. I don't care. It's the person you are. That's what I care about. It's the person you are and what you're doing, and how we can bring you to another level of being the best you can be.
You know, in our conversations, I can't remember the exact words, but you know, we talked about that, how we see life, and you have a lot of really valuable things to share. So it's
okay. Any
it's an
other
honor.
initiatives you want to like talk about? Because I think that one's amazing. Sorry,
for this visit, the idea of abundant urban co-living, operating in 7 cities. I think that we'll start with that one.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
But everyone's welcome to. You know, it's easy to see. But this is a good thing. This is it's wonderful, and TVU. You know, it's all about you.
TVU, Radio U. Come on out and find some amazing content and flavor that makes Alberta. Number one. I love that too. As you're sitting here talking about like over time, this will become one big group. You'll get a really good sense of what Alberta is from all the different viewpoints and eyeballs on it.
It's and you know what, like,
it's the tapestry.
When you say a thing like nation or country to a Canadian, right? We think Canada, right? Oh, that's a country. You know what? Canada's the size of probably 60 countries. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Come on. You know what I mean?
We don't have that populace, but we are massive.
Got the land. We got the land, and you know, that's you have nothing if you don't have the land. And Alberta is the size of like at least 4, if not 5 U.S. states. Alberta is an amazing land holding and a wonderful collection of resources and capital. It's such a wonderful place to be. The potential for leadership here is so exciting.
I would totally agree. And we also have a really beautiful mixing pot, truly, of cultures and minds, and we have a lot of opportunity here. I don't think we are really mining that opportunity as much as we could be, to be honest.
And you know what, for entrepreneurs like us, that's a good thing, because I'm getting after it. So you guys can all just sit at home. No. Come on out. I was just kidding.
All right, James. Well, I know that we're on a time limit today. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your story. It's an incredible story, and knowing that regardless of what happens on your journey as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a person, you always have the opportunity to pivot and see what's in the moment. Like when you were incarcerated, there was absolute opportunity and you took it, and it enriched and created a much better experience than it could have been. And then the things that you've done since then to be able to go, okay, there's still options, there's still opportunities, there's still lots to be done in this life, and not fall down and stay down.
That's so good. Yeah.
Such a gift you give. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. Well, until next week, peeps, I guess we'll talk. Well, beautiful souls. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we have one more in this series, and it's going to be a surprise. You'll hear all about it next week. Until then, I want you to think on this. What would it be worth to you to have that undying faith in yourself? What would it be worth to you to discover all that power within you so that you can get up no matter what and do what you really are driven to do in this world? Because it's never about just making money. It's never, why do you want to make the money? If you go a little bit deeper than that, what is it about really truly that drives you, gets you excited, jumping out of bed every morning with absolute desire and drive and meaning and purpose in your life? What would it be like if you could save the relationships? What would it be like to have the life that you always dream of? What would it be like? That's the question I have for you today. What would it be like for you? And what would that be worth? Till next week, my beautiful souls, come check us out at fearitgoes.com. You can also watch this on our YouTube channel, Fear It Goes. And if you would like, there are very unique interviews that I am a part of for the Fear It Goes show on TVU. Radio U has a 5:00 p.m. daily slot for the Fear It Goes show as well. And we are about to, this is very exciting. We are about to go onto Roku. So come join us in many, many, many different platforms we will be on. I cannot wait to keep bringing you great content. And if there is anything that you would like us to discuss, if there is something that you are struggling with and you just don't know what to do, send us a note. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to see if it's something that aligns with me and that I can help you with. I'd love to help you with it. So until next week, beautiful souls, have an absolutely extraordinary week.